What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC 313. We have Alex Pereira going against Magomed Ankalaev. We have a great pay-per-view coming up this week, and I can't wait to break it all down from a DraftKings perspective for you guys. Before we get into it, if you guys could do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. All three of those things go a very long way and are much appreciated. If you guys want to support me more, or if you guys want extra content or tools from a DraftKings perspective, betting perspective, check out dfsbythenumbers.com. That's where you'll find my fighter stats, my targets, projections, ownership projections, my rankings, my prize picks plays, my DraftKings article, lineup optimizer, and just much more content. So check it all out at dfsbythenumbers.com, and also check out prize picks. Right now, if you go to prize picks and use code DFSBTN, you will get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Whether that lineup wins or loses, you'll get $50 instantly into your prize picks account. Check it out and use that code DFSBTN. And with all that out of the way, I say we get into it, and we're going to start with the fight. Doesn't go to decision lines. We got the main event up top, and Alex Pereira going against Magomed Ankalaev. And yeah, I love the card from, you know, like the mid range is stacked this week. Like there's some plays I like up top, like we'll talk about them, but yeah, the mid range is stacked with fights I really want to go heavy on. And this main event is one that you can definitely make a case for being very highly exposed to. I mean, these prices, you got Alex Pereira 8,300, Magomed Ankalaev 7,900, and you can make a case for both guys. With Alex Pereira in a win, you're probably looking at a knockout within the first 15 minutes. And with Magomed Ankalaev, you're looking at potential wrestling upside, grappling upside. That's kind of going to be his path here, is to get this fight down to the ground and get on top of Pereira and win minutes. So for me personally, I haven't made lineups yet, but what I'm going to probably do is I'm going to be pretty heavy on this fight. It's going to be hard to not be heavy on this main event, just with both guys having a ton of upside. But I think I'm going to lean slightly more towards Ankalaev. I think he's going to be the much lower owned fighter out of the two. I think Alex Pereira is actually going to be the highest owned fighter on the entire slate, or very close to it. So but yeah, I mean, both fighters definitely in play. Both fighters have a solid path, and this mid-range is stacked, and this is a fight that I do like targeting quite a bit, including the next one, Bahamondes Turner, minus 200 for the fight. Doesn't go to decision. Yeah, I think this fight finishes too. You know, Jalen Turner, you know, typically your killer be killed fighter. He has a 100% finish rate in his wins. He's been knocked out 4 times. I think this fight's really going to come down to who is able to land that big shot first. I slightly lean to the Bahamondes side because I think he has, you know, more heart, toughness, better cardio. But Jalen Turner hits like an absolute truck for the division. Both these guys are hittable as well. Bahamondes, it shows a 57% strike and defense, but he literally blocks punches with his face. Jalen Turner actually has a 41% strike and defense. So both these guys have a ton of firepower. Both these guys are very defensively irresponsible. I feel like, you know, someone's going to get served here. So another fight in this mid-range that I'm all over this week, the Bahamondes Turner fight. I think somebody's getting served. And then another fight in the mid-range, Armen Petrosyan, Bruno Ferreira. So I'm seeing this fight kind of differently than a lot of people. A lot of people are thinking it's like a Petrosyan decision or Ferreira KO1, and I agree with half of that, right? I think this fight finishes inside the distance. You know, Bruno Ferreira's never been the full 15, and I don't think he will for a while. I mean, the way this guy fights, you know, he's not built for decisions. With that said, though, Bruno Ferreira as an underdog, 7,600. I do think he's going to be popular. I do think he's going to be one of the most popular dogs on the card, but for good reason. Like, if he's winning this fight, Bruno Ferreira is going to get a first-round knockout. Like, I think if he's winning this fight, he's getting a knockout first or second round, and he's breaking the slate. So for that reason, I have to have some Bruno Ferreira. On the flip side, Armen Petrosyan, I think he's a sneaky play this week. I don't think he's going to have a ton of ownership this week. You know, a lot of people, like I said, I think a lot of people are thinking that, you know, if he wins, it's probably a decision, maybe a little low volume, but I think he can potentially finish, you know, this guy as the fight goes on. Petrosyan is a finisher. He hasn't shown that in the UFC, but look at who he's fighting. He's fighting some of the toughest guys in the division. I mean, so yeah, I think he could absolutely finish Ferreira, who's been finished in both of his losses. So yeah, Petrosyan late, Ferreira early. I think somebody gets served. I think somebody gets knocked out. I think it's another great fight to target. And then finally, Leal Morono. This is a fight where I'll talk about Leal more in a second, but it's Leal or pass for me here. no reason to play any Morono this week, but I do like Leao quite a bit, which is a great transition to the core plays, and that is Carlos Leao at 9,600. He is the most expensive fighter on the slate, but he's very easy to get into your lineups. I think there's a lot of live underdogs this week. Should be no problem getting him in there, and I think he has a lot of upside as well. There's a couple guys I do like up top, but in terms of my favorite, in terms of like who I think is the safest, it's obviously Leao. I mean, on the money line, he's like minus 800. But I went back and watched some Leao fights. I'm impressed with the guy, man. I mean, he comes forward the entire time, doesn't care if you hit him, and he's not going to care if Morono hits him because Morono doesn't have any power. He's going to march forward, and he's going to try to take your head off, and I think that's exactly what happens here. I think he finds a finish within the first 2 rounds and pays off that hefty 9,600 price tag. Next, we got Armin Petrosyan, 8,600. Yeah, we talked about this Petrosyan Ferreira fight. I think we're going to want a piece of this one. Really, just got to worry about that big shot. If Petrosyan's chin holds up, like I think he's the much better fighter. I really do think he's a lot better than Ferreira, but Ferreira does have the death touch, so that's kind of the one worry. But Petrosyan should be outlanding him 2 to maybe 3 to 1, maybe 4 to 1. It's just the chin and the power of Ferreira is kind of the one thing that's scaring me. But yeah, I think he can definitely put a pace on Ferreira, wear him down, and then potentially finish him in the 2nd or 3rd round. So I do like Petrosyan quite a bit. But like I said earlier, this is a fight that you're going to want to have a share of this week. Rafael Fiziev, 8,400. I like him this week, man. I know Gaethje won the first fight, but a lot has really changed since then. Fiziev's coming off of a little bit of a layoff and injury, but I think he's ready to go, and I'm kind of worried about Justin Gaethje at this stage of his career. He's now 36. He's taken a lot of damage, and he's coming off of just a life-changing knockout against Max Holloway in his last fight. I'm not sure we're going to see the same Justin Gaethje, and if we do see the same Justin Gaethje, I think at the very least Fiziev can still win that fight. But if we see it like any type of regressed Gaethje in terms of just his overall game, the striking, the speed, the chin, the durability, I think Fiziev could potentially even finish Gaethje this time around. So I like Fiziev quite a bit, 8,400. And my hot take of the week is I think he can knock out Justin Gaethje in the 1st or 2nd round. So I like Fiziev here. Next we got Curtis Blaydes, 9,100. Yeah, this is a good fight to target, I think, but I really think Blaydes should win this fight. I mean, if he loses to Rizvan Kunayev, it'll be his worst loss by a mile. I mean, this guy's losing to guys like Tom Aspinall, Francis Ngannou. Prior to, Lewis, I guess, is probably his worst loss, and that's not even a bad loss. I mean, Lewis has the most knockouts in heavyweight history. So, yeah, if he loses to Kunayev, it's a very bad look, which he could. He's chinny, but, I think Blaydes should absolutely win this fight. Wouldn't even shock me if Blaydes knocked him out, but I could also see Blaydes going back and reverting to that wrestling, taking down Kunayev, getting on top, winning minutes, and even like in a decision, if he's racking up all these takedowns, control time, strikes, I could see him scoring well in a decision as well. See, I like Blaydes here. I think there's no reason he shouldn't go out there and win this fight and win it pretty dominantly as long as his chin holds up. Moving on to the GPP plays, we got Mauricio Hufi, 9,400. Hufi and Leao are kind of interchangeable for me. I think Liao's definitely safer. Hufi, I think he's going to probably do the same thing. What I think, Leao's going to do to Morono, and that's going to be a 1st or 2nd round knockout here to Bobby Green. And yeah, Bobby Green, 38 years old, has taken a lot of damage at this point, and it's just hard for me not to imagine Hufi touching the chin of Bobby Green at some point in this fight. So yeah, round 1, round 2 knockout, 9,400. I don't mind paying up for Hufi this week. The Jordan Santos, 8,700. So haven't talked about this fight yet, but I think this is one of the more important fights on the card for a couple reasons. For one, they actually have it as the first fight of the night now. I think it's going to be very low owned on really both sides, and especially like on Sant. I don't see a ton of people playing this guy this week. Newcomer here, and there's just a lot of good plays around. I don't see a ton of ownership on Jordan Santos, and I think that could potentially be a mistake just in general in terms of, I think this fight scores very well for the winner. Ozzy Diaz, a killer-be-killed fighter. He's been knocked out 3 times in all 3 of his losses. Ozzy Diaz has never seen a 3rd round. I think somebody's getting served here, and the Jordan Santos, this guy's young, improving rapidly. It wouldn't shock me if he knocked out Ozzy Diaz. It shouldn't shock anybody if he knocked out Ozzy Diaz. So I like Santos here. I think is a solid contrarian play in this 8,000 range this week. Yasmin Lucindo, 8,500. Not my favorite play in the world, but a play that I do think has some upside in terms of, I think she's able to get takedowns. I think she can get control time. Lemos, 50% takedown defense. She can be, kind of stuck on her back at times. So not sure Lucindo has like a ton of upside, like a massive ceiling per se, but I think in a win she does score, very, very well, and nothing crazy, but could see like 85, 90 points out of her, just racking up takedowns, control time, all that. So yeah, I don't mind some Lucindo at 8,500. And then Ignacio Bahamondes, 8,200. Like I said, you're going to want to share this fight. I think somebody's getting served. Turner's been knocked out 4 times. I'm personally picking a Bahamondes knockout, so for that reason, I'll have some Bahamondes for sure. Moving on to the live dogs. Magomed Ankalaev, 7,900. And yeah, for me personally, I think I prefer the Ankalaev side here. Like I had a tough time picking this fight, but the more I thought about it, the more I just think that Ankalaev has some paths here, and the obvious one is going to be getting the fight down to the ground. A lot of people are saying that Ankalaev's not a wrestler, he can't wrestle, and he hasn't really wrestled a ton in the UFC, but that's really because he hasn't really needed to. But anytime he has went out there and tried to wrestle, he's looked very good doing it, and he absolutely can wrestle, and he absolutely can grapple. So, I mean, the path is there for Ankalaev if he wants to take it, and I think he will take it. And like I said, I think Pereira is going to be the highest owned fighter on the slate, and I'll have my fair share of ownership as well on Pereira, but Ankalaev, I think he could be a solid play and a little bit lower ownership than the Pereira side this week. Why do I have a picture? Why do I have a picture of Charles Johnson? Why do I have a picture of Charles Johnson on my screen right now? I gotta fix that. Oh, jeez. Oh, take that off of there. Oh my! I just noticed that. That's terrible. That's terrible. Anyway, Jalen Turner, 8,000. Yeah, so there's a couple guys on this card with a 100% finish rate. You got Jalen Turner, Bruno Ferreira, Ozzy Diaz. You don't want to ignore any of those guys because if they're winning, there's a really good chance they're winning inside the distance. Same thing here with Turner. Like, Turner has the death touch in the division, and Bahamondes does block punches with his face. So I think a Turner finish is definitely in play, and I think somebody's getting served in that fight. Ray Saruya, 7,400. Yeah, I don't mind some Ray Saruya here, 7,400. If he's winning this fight, I think it's probably like a first-round submission, maybe like a first or second-round submission. I think that he's going to be able to take down Van easily in the first round, and I think he's going to put Van into a lot of bad spots here. Van's been submitted in one of his losses, that was a while ago, but, Saruya's grappling is really no joke. I do have major concerns about what happens if Saruya's not able to submit Van in that first round. I think at that point, Van starts to take over, but yeah, I think Saruya is a very live dog for those first 5 to 7.5 minutes. And then Bruno Ferreira, we talked about him a little bit, 7,600, 100% finish rate. All of his wins come, I believe, under 7.5 minutes. For that reason, I do have some interest in Bruno Ferreira. Moving on to the pump play. It is Francis Marshall, 7,100. Yeah, I'm not sure if, Marshall wins this fight. I'm picking Santos. I'm picking Santos by decision, but I feel like this fight could be a lot closer than these salaries do indicate, and Marshall, in theory, does have a path to victory here, and that path to victory is going to be to wrestle. We've seen Mario Santos, taken down in multiple fights, and I do think he's improving that area of his game, but, Francis Marshall's young in his own right. He's making improvements himself, and he's training with really good guys, so I think Marshall can kind of make this close, competitive, get takedowns, and even in a loss, I can see Marshall going out there and putting up a respectable score. But yeah, I don't mind Marshall as a pump play, and really that's about it down low that I really have much interest in this week. And then the fade is going to be Chris Gutierrez. I'm pretty much fading. It's hard to get to this Castaneda Gutierrez fight personally, but with so much going on in this mid-range, I just think this fight's going to be like it's going to be a Chris Gutierrez fight, like a slower paced fight. Not a ton of volume, some leg kicks, but leg kicks don't score much points. So, yeah, I'm actually picking Gutierrez to win, but with no wrestling upside, with probably no finish upside, with not a ton of significant strike upside, it's a pretty easy fade for me. And there you guys have it. Those are the DraftKings MMA picks for UFC 313. If you guys enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, subscribe to the channel, be on the lookout for more content throughout the week. And again, check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Most of my content is out already for the week. Going to be working on the article, and that should be out sometime Thursday as well. So you guys, best of luck for UFC 313, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See you.